Today on the minimum equipment list, we're pulling back the curtains on how we make the content. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse. Welcome back to Skyrider Limited. Today on the minimum equipment list, the sometimes regular series when I have ideas, and I don't always have ideas, so I don't always make it. We are talking about making filming flying again. It's time. It seemed like a good time to update you guys on the hardware I'm using, and also with the launch of the new podcast, the pilots meeting, I wanted to take you behind the scenes at some of the hardware used in making that. I am always hopeful the community will grow and more content will exist. So I like to show you guys when I can, not just what I'm flying and how I'm flying, but how I make the videos as well. So I guess we'll start with the monster behind me here. This is how we make the videos. You are looking at Skyrider headquarters in many ways. This is my editing station / podcasting suite. Up here is the newest addition to my camera hardware. That is a Hollyland Venus Air. It's a really cool 4K camera designed specifically for streaming and podcasting. It's got onboard cooling, this monster lens with a 1.0 aperture that gives me a really nice field of view. Really cool stuff. I did actually make the first two podcasts, actually the first 3 episodes, so you won't see video from this until episode 4, using a GoPro, one of my old GoPro Hero 10, which I used to use to film these episodes. We'll get to that in a minute. I do use an XLR mic over here. It is wildly overkill, but it does give me a lot of control over my audio and sound. So in the podcast, I get to sound nice and pro. That routes through this really cool box over here, which is called a Rode Streamer X, which is effectively a standalone AV mixer and capture card that feeds back into the laptop and lets me record all the podcast stuff. And because I'm a nerd and I like cool, fancy things that light up, of course, my mic arm lights and my headset stand on the other side lights and my keyboard mat all lights up, and the keyboards are synced up in a color gradient, so everything starts out purple over there and then fades across to blue. Why? Because it makes me happy. It doesn't do anything for the quality of the content. It just makes me happy, and I spend a lot of time sitting here making the videos. So, yeah. I mean, I guess having a good space to work, whether we're talking about making content or in general, is kind of important, right? So, I have an old Japanese, handmade Japanese kite that my dad collected, hanging above the workspace too. And you can also see my studio lights there. Yeah, it's just a nice space to work, and it helps me bring you guys better video, which is, after all, part of why I'm here, is to bring you guys cool content. So that brings us to the updated cameras for making the content out in the field. I am talking to my newer, I've been using it for a few months now, GoPro Hero 13. The Hero 10 had gotten pretty beat. It was several years old. Its batteries weren't holding good charge, and swapping out that many batteries was going to be pretty expensive, so I opted for a new camera instead. They had a pretty good Black Friday deal going. Won't bore you with the details. Do still have the Hero 10. It pretty much only gets used as a B-roll off-angle camera, like you saw in the last Training Days video, and occasionally as a webcam, though that's pretty well done now that I have the Hollyland there. But the biggest update is I have again changed the cameras I use for the flying videos. So originally, I was shooting the flying videos on Generation 1 GoPro Maxes. It's a great 360 camera. I really liked the tools in the backside of the software with it. I found it really easy to use and work with. So that was my kind of camera of choice for a good chunk of my work. But I ran into a problem with it at a certain point. You may remember in the last one of these videos, I showed you that I had switched to Insta360 X4s. So the problem with the original Maxes was they were 4K in 360. And what that means is when you feed it back into the app and you make flat regular video out of the 360 video, you end up with 1080 or just full HD video. Full HD video is fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but you do lack a certain amount of resolution to be able to zoom in within the file and some things like that. I wanted to be doing 4K uploads to YouTube. And in order to do that, I was having to feed the software, take the files, the 1080 files, and feed it to some software on Laptopzilla over here. And I was using a piece of software that used an upscaler to make the 1080 video be 4K, and that worked okay. But every once in a while, you could find artifacts in it where the upscaling model did something weird, trying to basically make the extra pixels. So did it work? Yes. Was it perfect? No. So I switched to the X4s. The X4s were wonderful. The app was clunkier, and obviously it lacked integration with the GoPro cloud, which I really liked the ability to upload the videos and pull them back down and be able to have video from the heroes and the maxes all in one place. Just super convenient to be able to work in that cloud space and have access to my video from, wherever I am. So, this year, GoPro finally updated the Max. And so, I have switched cameras again to these guys. Meet the Max 2. So, the Max 2 has 8K 360 capture, similar to the X series from Insta360. It's a much more compact camera, so physically, I like the form factor on it better. It handles heat a lot better. Some other really nice, robust things that they've added. They finally have native tripod mounts on them and some stuff like that. In general, they made getting at the tabs here a lot nicer. That was always a thing that was kind of annoying, so that's a lot better. But it gets me back into that GoPro ecosystem, which I really like. So if you're looking at 360 cameras, I highly recommend this guy. I think it does a better job video-wise than the Insta360s do right now. I will caveat this. I never worked with an X5, but I didn't think the X5 was that much better. And I've had, I've shot with this now 7 or 8 videos. And I've been thrilled with the quality I'm getting off of it. The only thing I have to figure out, and I haven't found it yet, the old version of the app when you were with the old Max had the ability to control an ease in, ease out function in transition between keyframes when you're sort of framing the flat video in the 360. I haven't found that function here. And so every once in a while you get slightly jumpy cuts, which I need to figure out. It's not hugely a problem if you're not making a lot of keyframe changes, but it can be if you're doing a lot of stuff. Like when I do videos with the quads, it can make things look a little jittery. So I still have that to work out, but new gear's always got teething, whether it's kites or cameras. So that's the big stuff. There's some other stuff in the background. I've got a new setup to mount one of these on a giant selfie stick on top of a tripod that you've probably seen in some shorts by now. And the video that I shot with that as a test is coming out soon. I'll be doing more with that soon, but to be perfectly honest, the video I used it in, I shot in middle December when I was down in the Outer Banks for my training trip there. And then I shot a bunch of stuff right at the beginning of January, and I actually haven't flown since. We're in March now. So I'll be using that fly cam a bit more, but that basically lets me get almost drone-like shots by sticking one of these 360 cameras almost 20 feet in the air, and then bringing the kite up to it, which is really cool. It's a very different perspective. I really like the sort of production value that brings to everything. Some other essential equipment that I really highly recommend if you can get into this. Um, Whether you do an Insta360 or GoPro, highly recommend you buy their remote. It is really easy to use and just sort of strap on a wrist. I don't find it gets in my way of flying, or I can just shove it in a pocket and just sort of reach down and whack it to start stop. Other thing I have discovered, if you are a Garmin watch user, and I will bet you there is an Apple Watch app as well, there is an app to use your watch as a camera remote, which is something I'm looking forward to playing with soon, because I pretty much always have my Garmin watch on, and that's a will be a nice handy way to control all of that. Um, Guys, I hope you enjoyed the sort of behind the scenes look at the crazy gear I use to make the content, and also, like, you can pick up used 360 cameras for shockingly cheap money if you're just trying to get into this. Or like older, it's hard to find the original Maxes, although they're around used. But like, I think Insta360, for example, is still selling the X4 alongside the X5 for like really short money, relatively speaking, if you want to get into this. Um, so if you want to like start playing with filming your flying, those are all great options. Another great option, I know, some folks have probably been used. I know of at least one person using it, is like the new Meta glasses. Shoot in 3K, which is pretty darn good resolution. It's very clear, very smooth, really good stabilization. So that's what I got for you in terms of the gear I'm using and some other stuff that's out there. And hopefully we'll see some new people making content. I would love that. I always hoped that this, like, the Skyrider itself would be a collaborative project, but in general that, we would see more and more people making content. So hopefully, you see this video and go, huh, he makes that look, way harder than it is. That's easy. I can do that. That's my hope, is like, more of you get into it. And I would really look forward to seeing all of that. But until then, thank you all for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing all of these videos, and we will see you out there, Skyrider.